Good evening, Keto and wrestling family. MATTROISE here with another live stream tonight of Dark Side of the Ring, Season 4, Episode 2, Shattered, the Magnum T.A story. Please allow me to be your eyes and ears for this show, and I'll let you know what's going on as we proceed. And of course, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section down below, and I will get to them during the commercial breaks. What's going on, everybody? We got Dark Angel in the house, Lazy Kitten, Rorito, Clarissa McKinley. What's up, Priscilla? How is everyone doing this evening? Aaron, what's up? 420 Hunter Low. What's going on, Aaron? Yeah, so Retro Week is when I send an invite to everybody who hasn't been on this stream for a long time. And I send an invite to everybody to come back for 1 week. What's up, Garrett Light? What's up, bro? Baron Corbin, he's not terrible, I'd say.
At the dawn of the 1980s, Magnum T.A. burst onto the wrestling scene. With his athleticism, charisma, and movie star good looks, he quickly became a top star for Jim Crockett Promotions and a valuable weapon in the company's war against Vince McMahon.
All the big guns come here when they want to get it done, and that's why Magnum T.A. is here.
At that point in time, Jim Crockett Promotions was the only other wrestling promotion in the country that had the ability to compete with Vince McMahon.
There's only one Hulk Hogan, Daddy.
I believe that Magnum could have been for Crockett what Hulk Hogan was for WWF.
There's only one Magnum T.A. There will ever be only one Magnum T.A. It was like being a rock star. I was given the keys to the city. The sky is the limit.
But Magnum's meteoric rise to fame and fortune would end in an instant.
Blow took me right into the roof, and my C5 vertebrae exploded,
throwing his life and career into tragedy and chaos.
He is in the intensive care unit at Charlotte Memorial Hospital.
Terry Allen was the future. You put all your cards in that basket, and the basket was turned over.
This devastating thing changed everyone's reality.
Healthy, wealthy, wise. All of a sudden, boom, gone.
The story of Magnum T.A. is the story of what might have been. Not just for the man himself, but for the entire wrestling world.
Not yet, ATF.
He was told he would not walk again.
We just started the show. Here we go.
This is Wrestlemania. This is the thing of today. Hulkamania is running wild.
In the early 1980s, professional wrestling explodes in popularity, dominated by Vince McMahon, his star Hulk Hogan, and his powerhouse promotion, the WWF.
What's up, Jay-Z?
Vince McMahon is a genius.
But down south, a rival wrestling company stands in defiance of the growing McMahon empire.
There you go! The Jim Crockett! The Wrestling Network is the best thing going! That's why they're here! Yeah!
As smaller companies across the country fold, Jim Crockett Promotions represents one of the last lines of defense against the WWF's nationwide takeover. But where the WWF showcases kid-friendly cartoon personas, Crockett's brand of pro wrestling is a world of blood, grit, and glamour.
Soon to appear on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, Mr. Jim Cornette!
I'm Jim Cornette. I've been involved in wrestling for over 40 years, but in the 1980s, I was one of the managers that led many of Magnum T.A.'s opponents to the ring. Crockett in the Carolinas had a tremendously strong base of fans, and also that roster from Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors, the Rock and Roll Express. It went on and on. That was the gathering place now for all the top wrestlers that were going to oppose Vince McMahon.
Crockett Promotions, around 1985. We are on the rise. We're clicking on all four cylinders. My name is David Crockett. Jim Crockett is my father.
And I'm Tony Schiavone, joined by Mr. Jim Crockett, president of Jim Crockett Promotions.
You had Vince McMahon, WWF, that was wanting to take over the country.
It is well documented in the official World Wrestling Federation magazine, Mr. Hogan's popularity is indeed worldwide.
And we liked what we were doing, so we said, nah, that's not gonna happen. We had a great stable of wrestlers.
Nobody can beat the American dream!
But we needed that special something.
Crockett needed somebody for the future. And if you had a character, kick-ass babyface over here and a legend over here, you always needed the matinee idol, the movie star, right there in the middle of everything.
Who would be the good guy? Earliest memories of television, like 6, 7 years old, were watching professional wrestling with my dad. And it evoked all these emotions of watching guys that were like real live action superheroes. So as a little kid, you start thinking, maybe this is something I could do. And I was the most unlikely guy to be doing this because I had no athletic background. My name is Terry Allen, better known as Magnum T.A. I started out wrestling in the 9th grade, and I applied myself to it like nothing I'd ever done. So as I worked my way up the ranks, by the time I'm a senior, I ended up winning the state tournament.
Magnum is from Norfolk, Virginia, and he was working in a bar in Virginia Beach, and that's where tons of the Carolina wrestlers would go, because that was kind of a vacation spot. When you were up in that part of Virginia for the weekend, the guys would go party in Virginia Beach.
In the 70s, I was in college and I was working security in nightclubs and bars, and the wrestlers would come down to the place where I worked, and they're ripping with me, and because I'm a big guy. There was a guy there that saw me, and his name was Buzz Sawyer.
Buzz Sawyer was one of the most talented in-ring performers in the history of wrestling, and was one of the most obnoxious, crooked, surly, and discontented son of a bitches in the world outside of him.
So Buzz Sawyer sees me, he like, oh, buddy. So look, this is really hard to get into this business, but I can help you. But I feel like this guy is really going to help me. So now I see this as a potential career path. So he comes even to my parents' home and talks with all of us. He tells us, how tough the business is to get in, but he has these inroads that he can help me. And he tells me a wrestling license costs $10,000. 10 grand. And my mom and dad are like, 10 grand. 10 grand might as well have been 100 grand in 1979.
A lot of money.
My mom believed in me, and she went to her dad, my granddaddy Smith, and he gave me the money. He said, I believe in you. And so we give him the money, and so I'm going to get in. He's going to get me in the door. And next thing I know, Buzz has left the Carolinas. Poosh, mind blown.
Buzz was just trying to bilk an aspiring young man out of some money and saw where he could get it. He was an asshole. Wrestling licenses are still a real thing, and were a real thing at that point in states that have athletic commissions. If they have an athletic commission, you have to be licensed to be a wrestler, a manager, an announcer, whatever. They generally cost between $10 and $25. So Buzz Sawyer wasn't going to sell Magnum T.A. any kind of wrestling license.
Did you ever get that money back from Buzz Sawyer?
No.
He lost his money from Buzz Sawyer.
So one
Jeez.
night I tell Jimmy Garvin my Buzz Sawyer story. Jimmy knew Buzz. He knew all too well what was going on.
Garvin does not lose his cool as quickly as Sawyer.
I encouraged him to go find Buzz and ask Buzz to hook him up. And I literally believe he left the next day and drove to Oregon.
I found out what his apartment number was and knocking on the door. Opens the door, kind of surprised to see me. So he takes me down to the ring the next day, and I work out for 2 solid hours. I learn how to tie up, hit the ropes, do some spots, take a back prop.
It wasn't uncommon in those days if a guy saw some young prospective talent that wanted to train or wanted to be taught, yeah, I'll take this guy, he's an idiot, we'll run him off, whatever. But in this case, it came back to bite him because Magnum turned out to be a bigger star than Buzz ever was.
And the next night, I wrestled Buzz on television. They all think, hey, you did a pretty good job. They think I've been in the business. They think I'm trained. They think Buzz trained me. Well, he did. He trained me for 2 hours. And then I got booked 7 nights a week.
I knew Magnum from the get-go. He burst onto the scene, man, and he was a breath of fresh air to watch.
Jake the Snake Roberts!
I'm what's left of Jake the Snake Roberts. He was no sucker, man. He was just so hungry and wanted it so bad.
Terry's unrelenting drive and raw talent earn him admiration from promoters, fans, and fellow wrestlers. His hard work pays off when a single phone call propels his career to new heights.
Betty Graham that owns Florida Championship Wrestling. So he, boom, picks up the phone, gives me a call. He said, I got a spot for you. And so again, I pack up all my belongings and off I go back across the country and head south. That's where the true education of the wrestling business really started, the day I stepped foot in the territory of Florida.
From Virginia Beach, Virginia, weighing in at 240 pounds, Terry Allen.
So when I first came to the territory in Florida, the booker, the creative development guy, American Dream Dusty Rhodes. Never met him. I've seen his pictures on the cover of magazines.
Oh, Dusty Rhodes was one of the greatest wrestlers ever, man. The best showman ever, without a doubt. He was our Muhammad Ali.
The booker of a major wrestling promotion is like the major motion picture director in Hollywood. He decides the final say on the actors, who's going to play the parts, how they're going to do it, what their demeanor is, the way that the thing is shot. So the booker was the director, and Dusty Rhodes saw in Magnum T.A. his next movie star.
Dusty had the potential to see talent and charisma within people that didn't know how to bring it out.
Right here is the global tag team champion, Terry Allen.
And he became the most influential guy on my career of anybody that I ever came in contact with.
Dusty pushed Magnum T.A. to the heights of pro wrestling. He believed in him. He teamed with him. They were personal friends. Hello, everyone. This is Bill Apter, and I am the most recognizable journalist and independent broadcaster in the world of pro wrestling for the past 51 years. People used to say that he looked like Tom Selleck, and Andre the Giant thought so much about that he said to Magnum, "You look like Tom Selleck, you should call yourself Magnum T.A." That's how it happened.
Wow.
Back in the 80s, there was a TV show with a star named Tom Selleck, and it was about a detective, and his name was Magnum T.A. So Andre looks over at me and he says, "Boss," he said, "you're ready." And I said, what do you mean I'm ready? He said, "You're ready for something." He said, "But you need a handle." So he tied it all together and took the Magnum and the Terry Allen T.A. and put that name together.
Wow.
After just over a year in Florida, Magnum T.A. returns to the road, this time joining the high-octane wrestling circuit known as Mid-South.
Magnum T.A.
Action continues now. The popular star, Magnum T.A. Here's Buddy Nichols to tell us about it.
Really a very personable young man, one with a lot of wrestling talent, and as we mentioned last week, one with a lot of desire and an opportunity to go a long way in this wrestling business.
So I come to Mid-South as Magnum T.A. I don't know what Magnum T.A. means at this point in time. It's a name. I don't know how this translates into me, and nor do the people that have brought me in. So one week they're telling me to wear suits and ties, and we do that for a couple weeks, and they say, "You don't really seem comfortable in that." So then they say, well, maybe, punk rock was kind of a thing. They want me to wear like some punk rock clothes. I'm not comfortable at all in this, but we go through all these little things they're trying to do. Nothing is clicking. So I called Dusty up. I said, I need to do something else. They don't know what to do with me. He said, "I got it, baby. I got it. It's all good." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what you do." He said, "You go down and buy you a brand new Harley Davidson." So I bought a motorcycle jacket when I bought the new bike, and I ride that bike into town with that jacket on, and everybody looks. And it changed the whole perception immediately of who I was. Clint Eastwood and Charles Bronson and Bruce Lee and John Wayne all wrapped up in one package in a leather jacket.
He had the perfect look for professional wrestling. The perfect size, the physique, the face, the whole 9 yards.
This incredible it factor that I have not seen in a lot of pro wrestlers. He had it.
He was going up the ladder, man. He had it all. Keep burning up there for a while. And, of course, not very long.
All right, we're on commercial break. Well, Magnum T.A. I didn't know that. Andre the Giant was responsible for coming up with his name. All right, let's see what questions you guys have for me during the commercial break. Any good questions? Let's see. What's up, Jacob? Did Magnum crawl from the wreckage? We didn't get to that part yet, Reverend. What's up, Dro? Hair gel. What hair gel do I use? It's actually coconut oil. Just coconut oil. That's it. Organic coconut oil. And look, it looks perfect, right? And luckily, no Rogaine or Hair Club for Men. Luckily. My 3 female crushes of all time would have to be, in wrestling, I have to say Sable. I'd have to also say Trish Stratus. And last but certainly not least, I'd have to say Naomi. Bill Apter, I think he's very credible, absolutely. Meltzer, I don't know, he's losing his senses these days, so I'm not exactly sure about Meltzer. A eulogy, honestly, I have no idea, to be honest. I don't want to think about eulogies. What wrestlers do I want to toast at my wedding? Oh, that's easy. Well, like Stone Cold, The Rock, John Cena, Undertaker. That's all a pipe dream. Sarah could marry 3 celebrities. I wouldn't let her. The best gift Rory has given me. That's a good question. You give me a lot of gifts, Rory. I can't say which my favorite one. Probably the Ric Flair and Charlotte gold pop figures. Do I think Cody, Jay-Z asks, finally beat Rowan at WrestleMania? Will fans turn on him? I don't know. At this point, I don't know if he's going to win. If he's going to defeat Roman. The worst gift Rory got for me. I don't think you ever got me a bad gift. And even if you did, beggars can't be choosers. So I'm thankful for everything you've given me. Everyone's given me. Thank you.
Mid-South Territory.
We're back.
When he receives an offer that will change the course of his career.
I get the phone call and Dusty says, I want to introduce you to Jim Crockett. Jim Crockett on the phone with me and says, look, and I will promise you, if you come here, I will give you the greatest opportunity that anybody could ever ask for in the business.
I first met Magnum T.A. when he walked into the office. You know, here's this tall, 6'1", 6'2", very well built, blonde hair coming down, these piercing eyes, and this husky, raspy voice. Looking at the women in the office, they all, you know, they do that. So that is the total package. The camera, who is the main judge, love it.
All the fans have been waiting for this man, Magnum T.A., and here he is.
You didn't have to put lights on to make him look good. He glowed.
Magnum T.A is coming middle-line for one reason only, coming for the U.S. Heavyweight Championship.
Almost immediately, Crockett goes and barters a deal to go on TBS on the Superstation. The moment we went on the Superstation, everything changed. The territory started popping immediately, and we blew the roof off the place.
My name is Tamara Howell, and I was married to Terry Allen. We were together from 1981 until 1988. He got this raincoat jacket. He loved it. It was his Jesse James look. We did talk about having a family, but we were waiting until he became the World Championship title holder. Here we were at the baptism of Dusty and Michelle's son, Cody. It's pretty special.
The minute I make the emotional decision that I'm going to settle down and I'm going to get married, immediately my career path says, we want to promote you as a sex symbol. We want you to be our superstar. We want you to be the people everybody tear their hair out and want to get hold of.
He was the rock star. The cheers for Magnum were the squeals of the women in the audience. It was hysteria.
It was just absolute insanity. And it was the wild, wild west from the partying standpoint, the girls in every port and every place. It was bad. You know, it was like Animal House 24/7. It was more than any red-blooded male can handle.
They were getting the motel key and panty treatment every night. It was insane. They had more sex on the way to the ring than I've had in my life.
You always play to the audience, whether it's male or female. I mean, the women crying, they want to get close to him after the match and get blood off of him. And, you know, oh, I'll never wash my hands again.
Well, I definitely could see his popularity. We were in a mall, we were in a boot store, and this girl just fainted seeing him.
Wow.
She got all flustered and turned red and fainted. So I think if everyone thinks you're the best thing since sliced bread, you might start believing that. I didn't work outside of the home. I always would unpack his wrestling bag from the night before, and when I was doing that, he had pictures in there.
Uh-oh.
I had taken out the pictures and I just was flipping through them, and then I stopped and I was like, wait a minute, I don't have that bag. I thought it was me in the picture, but she had a different handbag than I would have carried, so, and I realized that wasn't me, and I hadn't been wherever they were, so.
As Terry's rising fame pushes his marriage to the brink, a powerful opponent emerges, a Soviet-era strongman, bringing the Cold War to the wrestling ring.
Was I intimidated by Magnum T.A? I think it was the other way around. I think he was intimidated by me. I am Nikita Koloff, better known to the wrestling fans as the Russian Nightmare. You think he's going to run? Take a look at Nikita now. 22 after now. I hail from the great state of Minnesota, not from Russia like I'm portrayed back in the wrestling days.
Well, in the 80s, the United States and Russian political situation, here you have Magnum T.A, American-made. So you had the Russian might against American-made.
Magnum T.A, or Mega T.A, as I used to call him. He had that whole look of that all-American. I'm like, man, this is, you might say, a match made in heaven.
And they had this incredible series, the Best of 7 series. It was one of the greatest feuds in pro wrestling history.
Between the #1 challenger, who is Nikita Koloff, and the former champion Magnum T.A.
There's got to be a clear-cut winner for 4 matches. From Nikita Koloff, there's never going to be a day in my life that I'll have to look up to a Russian and call you a superior athlete. Match #1, I have set myself to be this physical specimen, and so to go up 1-0. So the way we just built the story and how each match was finished, you know, whether it was a dominating victory on my part, going up 2-0, and then to go up 3-0, it
And then he catches me by surprise and he wins that first one. 3-1.
And the winner of match number 4, Magnum T.A.
He slips by and wins 3-2. Oh my gosh, there's hope. There's hope for America. Match number 6, and he squeaks out another victory, and now it's 3-3, and it's going to come down to that final match number 7.
The man standing before you right now is a man that's going to take it all home, bring it home right here, United States of America.
It couldn't have been set up any better. And Nikita Koloff gets the 1-2-3. Man, I want to tell you, the fans were not happy that night, boy. Talk about heat. The heat on me elevated to a whole nother level. And so, of course, Magnum, now he's got to chase and get back that U.S. title. That, by the way, set you up as #1 contender for the World Heavyweight title back in those days. Now the chase is on.
1986 was pretty much the culmination of a long-running rivalry between Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair for the world title. And next in line, whenever that trigger would have been pulled, was Ric Flair and Magnum T.A. Into 87, 88, that would have been the direction they were going. Who's going to be the world champion? Who's going to be the dominant guy in the NWA? Ric Flair or Magnum T.A.?
In the 70s, 80s, the National Wrestling Alliance World Heavyweight title was the most coveted wrestling title you could go after. That 10 pounds of gold belt was an amazing thing.
And he was going to get that, no doubt about it, because the powers that be loved him, you know, and they trusted him.
The powers that be are the promoters of the National Wrestling Alliance, the governing body of the majority of the nation's regional territories, including Jim Crockett Promotions.
There was a meeting that Dusty and I and Jim Crockett had where we flew up to New York, went out to dinner, and they told me that the decision had been made, the NWA had blessed it, and that I was going to be the next World Heavyweight Champion. The trajectory was to take the next step, move away from Nikita so I could move back into that chase. But in the meantime, we got this new, brash, fresh, smack-talking heel named Jimmy Garvin that comes in, and we got this great new opportunity.
This is gorgeous Jimmy Garvin.
And this angle with Terry and Patty and I was going to be huge.
And I have confidence because I know that I'm the greatest athlete in the world and nobody could beat me.
But, you know, I had that match with him in Greenville, South Carolina that night. A heck of a match, and we were getting ready to blow the territory wide open. It just never happened because that was the night of the incident.
The incident. That's coming up next, the incident. All right, we're on commercial break. Let's see what tantalizing questions you guys have for me. Cameron Crone asks, do I think Damian Priest is going to leave the Judgment Day? Perhaps eventually. Jay-Z asks, what wrestler do I hate the most? Mick Foley. And you guys know why. Absolutely, Dark Angel. We'll get a word from the Dark Angel right after this. What's up, Boots? What's up, Dino Man? Bleezy's invited. Everybody's invited to Retro Week. Absolutely everybody, even the Nightbot himself from Australia. It's up to them. The ball is in their court to show up. Andres Nibles, what's up, bro? Nikita Koloff was the voice of the Cookie Monster. He sounded like the Cookie Monster. Sorry to hear that, bro. What happened? I'm not sure what I'm going to do now after graduation, Roy. One thing for sure, though, I want to get some rest because I've been burning the candle at both ends for several years now. and it's time for me to get some rest. Do I think Magnum T.A would have been a great heavyweight champion? Absolutely. In WWF, anywhere. Magnum T.A, he did look a little bit like Jake the Snake. Perhaps they tried to replicate Magnum T.A.'s look in WWF. Yeah, I didn't pay $500 for it, though. I got it when it was on super discount. Had they skipped Tully? Yeah, I know Immortal. It looks like they're picking and choosing here. What four Giants wrestling would you have as your enforcers? Living or dead? Bruno Sammartino, Andre the Giant, Brock Lesnar, and I'd have to say Giant Gonzalez. What's up, Michael Maroney? Yeah, right now I have enough mods, BC Gaming, but maybe in the near future. You ordered the new World Heavyweight Championship yesterday, but I canceled the order. It was a waste of money. Even my military discount, additional 10%, $450, too much to spend on metal. Yeah, it's too much, bro. Only pick one person? I'm getting attacked by Omos, Braun, and Andre. I'm picking Brock, Jay-Z. Maroney, SmackDown right now is my favorite.
Last week's show with Magnum T.A. got such a great response, we've asked the U.S. champ, Magnum T.A., to be with us again this week. Magnum, 1985 was a darn good year for you. What's 86 have in store for you?
Well, 86 will be a continuation of the quest that I started in 1985, which was for the World's Heavyweight Championship held by Ric Flair.
He was going right to the top. I could not see any road taking him anywhere else except to the top.
We had everything sunk into him. Terry Allen was the future.
As Magnum T.A. closes in on the heavyweight title, he begins living the life of a world champion.
At that time, I had more money than I had since. I walked in the Porsche dealership, and they had a brand new 911 Turbo sitting on the floor. And that was the Mac Daddy. Write me up, I'm taking it. It was quick, and it was cool. And I had the need for speed like Top Gun. You know, it had a combustion engine in it, and it was loud, and it was fast. I liked it. My plan was to have a run with the belt, 27, by the time I'm 30, out of it, and then go drive NASCARs. I didn't want to be running around in my underwear in front of people at 30-something years old. I thought that was ridiculous.
On October 14th, 1986, after defeating gorgeous Jimmy Garvin in front of a roaring crowd in South Carolina, Magnum T.A. hits the road in his prized Porsche 911.
I'm 5 minutes from my house. I'm on a 2-lane road. I've driven hundreds of times. It's like the horse turns the corner and knows the barn's right there, and I'm on the track. It was raining so hard, you know, coming back you could barely see. The road that I was traveling on that night had a little slight bend curve in it. Right in the middle of the curve was a little divot in the road where water had gathered, probably 2-3 inches of water all the way across the road. When I went around the corner, and that dip right in the middle of the car hydroplaned. When a car hydroplanes, it means your tire patch loses contact with that road. So my tires were actually floating on top of that water. So I did what I had done before to counteract something, and I made the situation worse. The car spun violently the other direction, and I broadsided a telephone pole so hard that I cut it in half. It happened so fast. It was violent, and the blow was like I had been hit by a freight train. I didn't know I was not okay until I couldn't move. And I was so big in the car that my shoulder was right up against the door, and I had just maybe an inch of headroom. So the blow took me right into the roof. The emergency crew came, and one of them grabbed me by my jacket to try to pull me up. And the other guy stopped and said, no, I can't move. So they used the jaws of life cut the whole top of the car off, peeled it back like a tin can, stabilized me. They couldn't airlift me out because it was raining so hard. Took me by ambulance. It changed my life. It changed the people I worked for. It changed my family. It changed everybody in a nanosecond.
The police called me. They were taking him to the hospital. On my way to the hospital, I was behind the tow truck that had his Porsche on it. And to see the Porsche the way it was very frightening. The roof was off. It was a mess. It looked like he probably was dead. Well, they took me aside and they told me that he had fractured his vertebrae. They needed to get him into surgery quickly.
My first view of a medical professional that's giving me a diagnosis, he used the words C5 quadriplegic and neck down paralysis. Be into one shot of ever attaining any level of mobility beyond sitting in a wheelchair and being taken care of by someone for the rest of your life. Matter of fact, they were just trying to figure out how I was going to breathe. They said my lungs were paralyzed. They were saying things to me like, well, maybe you might be able to an iron lung instead of a ventilator.
The guy's in intensive care. They've got him all hooked up. They keep him sedated. You just fear for the worst. It was, is he truly going to make it? What was going through his mind?
They're shooting me up with morphine every time I blink because they can't communicate with me. If I try to communicate anything, they think I'm hurting. So I'm in such bad shape, they're just zapping me with the moon and stars.
My brother came in and he just said, he'll never, ever get in the ring again.
Wow. Horrible. So Unbroken, it was a vehicle he hydroplaned on a road that it was raining very heavy on. So you got to be careful when you're driving. I don't know how fast he was going. He didn't say how fast he was going, but all right, let's see what other questions you guys have while we're on commercial break. Autographs on WWE Shop are fake. I would assume if they're from WWE Shop, they're authentic. The new Fast and Furious 10 movie, I heard it wasn't that good, Aaron, so I'm not in a rush to see it. Not in a rush. Any questions you guys have about anything at all? About me, about YouTube, anything at all? Why do I hate Mick Foley? Because you guys have heard me tell this story before. Boots, Lady Elaine, and myself, we went to go see Mick Foley at an autograph signing in Brooklyn, New York. This is when Mick Foley was contracted under TNA. So it was about 2007 or 2008. So, first of all, he's late to the autograph signing. He walks in, finally. He looks like he's disheveled. He's got a headache or something. He doesn't want to be there. He tells Dave Hebner, God rest his soul, to tell all of us fans waiting in line patiently he doesn't want any pictures taken. He doesn't want any handshakes. He doesn't want to be touched. And whatever you have to sign, just give it to him and keep walking. And I couldn't believe this is the same guy that was thrown off the top of a Hell in a Cell. He was being a prima donna. So they do say to never meet your heroes because it's going to let you down. They'll never live up to the hype. And that's exactly what happened with Mick Foley. I wish we never met Mick Foley because we did, and it was really a shame. I couldn't believe I met Mick Foley. and he was such an asshole. And to be honest, you know, I took the time to read his 500-page autobiography. I took the time to do that when I was a teenager, when I could have been out doing other things. And this is how he treats us?
Away from town when his car went off the road.
That's why I hate Mick Foley.
About 200 feet. He apparently tried to correct and bring it back onto the road, but it was slippery. And he ended up on this side, slamming into this telephone pole with enough force to break it in half.
Memorial spokesperson Cecily Newton explained that Magnum has a spinal cord injury that is localized to the 5th cervical vertebrae.
And it exploded. It sent those bone fragments back and created compression on the spinal cord.
It was on every news channel. You saw the pictures of that car.
That car looked wrecked.
Absolute miracle that anybody was alive. It was completely destroyed. It was the front page of the Charlotte Observer.
It's a type of situation where you don't believe it has happened until you actually see him, and no one has been able to see him, so we're still kind of stunned.
Radio, newspaper, we really didn't have internet, so it was all word of mouth.
I'm sorry, ma'am, that's the only thing I'm permitted to release at this time.
Memorial Hospital has fielded some 8,000 to 10,000 phone calls about Magnum T.A. since the wrestling star was admitted. The hospital lobby looks like a florist convention.
I think he
Sure, Dark
received
Angel.
the most letters of anyone there at their hospital. I do have the newspaper clippings and bags of mail we received.
The hospital got so many calls, they had to shut the switchboard down. There were candlelight vigils of fans outside the hospital.
A lot of people held him close to their heart.
Arian Allen has been with her son since the accident. This afternoon, she wanted to thank all of the people who have sent prayers and cards.
It has been rough in a lot of cases, but I just don't think I could have gotten through this time without all that love and positive energy that I felt flowing around me.
Back in the day, like, we didn't go to the hospital because kayfabe, you know, was a heel. He was a babyface.
Kayfabe.
Didn't go to the hospital. I mean, we just didn't do it.
In the 1980s, wrestlers and promoters still go to great lengths to maintain the illusion that wrestling is real, a practice known as keeping kayfabe.
So Flair and the Horsemen or any of the heels couldn't go to the hospital and see Magnum. So what they did was, one of our people that worked at the office was also a Charlotte City police officer, and he arranged with the hospital to sneak Flair and some of his guys up a back stairway and into the room in the middle of the night so that nobody would see him, so they could go and see Magnum.
Wow, that's great.
Flair came in my room with the 10 pounds of gold, laid it on my chest, said, I'm giving you this one. I'm waiting for you to come back in the ring and get the other one.
Wow.
When Magnum had his accident, he was obviously automatically without income. And in this case, all of the guys on the roster got together and said, we will donate whatever from our check per week to Magnum, and Jim Crockett, as the promoter, would match the total of everything that was collected by the wrestlers. So whether it was $25 a week or $50 a week.
That's nice.
Out of everybody's check, but there were 30 guys, and then he'd match it.
What's your role in his recovery?
I was there every day. I went to the hospital every day. And I helped feed him, bathe him, helped him with everything that he needed.
So I don't really get to have real soul-searching moments about all of this for about 30 days. When things cleared a little bit, I got out of the ICU, got in the room, people were able to start relaying things to me that was going on in the outside world that I was pretty oblivious to.
I love Magnum more than I love everyone else.
Sad something like that happened to a man so talented, good shape. I don't want to end his career or nothing.
Immediately I felt horrible. Not for me, but for my friends, for Dusty, for Jimmy, because I knew everything they had built around me. Their whole future and plans and everything is built around me. There was no plan B.
Magnum T.A. was this shooting star that we attached ourselves to. We were flying high with him. There was nothing to stop us. But then that shooting star went dark. And with that, we went dark. We were trying to find our way, just like Magnum was trying to find his way.
I'm on a tour in Japan,
My first night back is in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia. Dusty and Jim Crockett pulled me into an office, and it took him a few minutes, as I recall, to really convince me, like, no, we're not kidding. Like, this is for real. He's lying in a hospital in Charlotte, North Carolina right now, fighting for his life. He's Dusty's guy. He's his bread and butter. He's groomed to be the next world heavyweight champion. So obviously this leaves a void.
The last 2 weeks have been very difficult for Dusty Rhodes, the American Dream. Because Magnum T.A. and Dusty Rhodes made their own rules. We love fast cars and fast times, and that's the way we lived on the end of that lightning bolt that crashes through this vast earth of ours.
So Dusty and Crockett and everybody else was faced with, well, what do you do when you're still making a movie but your star is gone? You gotta find a new star. At that point, there was no major wrestling name that was just floating around waiting for a phone call. So Dusty looked within his own roster and said, who can possibly not take Magnum's spot and look like him and act like him and do the same thing that will be seen as a copy of him, but who can take that spot and do it in a completely different way?
And I have a new partner. And that's Nikita Koloff.
I'm like the #1 most hated guy in wrestling right now. I mean, the fans love to hate me, and I'm Russian. At this juncture, I'm only 2.5 years into my career.
With the new plan in place, the challenge becomes selling the story to the fans.
Jim Crockett called me and he says, would you be willing to come up to the hospital? Magnum's asking for you. He needs to talk to his fans nationally about what's going on, and you guys, the magazines, are the only way to do this.
Reporting from Magnum's bedside, Bill Apter helps to engineer Nikita's transformation into a babyface hero.
Bill Apter was the only, from the magazine side, that I had built a bond with and I trusted.
The story that was worked on was so heartwarming because Nikita Koloff, and we had a picture of this on one of the wrestling magazines, that there was a tear coming down Nikita's eyes for the cover, and he said, I cried for Magnum T.A.
And for the fans, for the very first time, oh my gosh, Nikita really does have a heart.
There was literally millions of people like watching from the sidelines now, that they were looking at this man that's now fighting this real life battle, and they're all pulling for me. How's he gonna handle it? What's he gonna do?
Magnum T.A. Okay guys, let's see what other tantalizing questions you guys have for me during this commercial break. Yeah, Immortal, if you beat him, maybe he'll live up to your expectations. Who knows? Jay-Z's mom is his hero. That's great, Jay-Z. That's awesome. Yeah, Jim Ross was a class act. Very nice guy. We met him at WrestleMania 29, the WrestleMania Superstore, and what a nice guy. Jim Cornette and Russo, I actually like them both. I'm a fan of both of them. So, I think they go hand in hand. Definitely King Patriot, he definitely got what he deserved. You say 10 names, tell what you first think of when I say those names. Bleezy, Kind, Nightbot, Aggressive, Ahmad, Smiles, Eugene, Funny, Shane McMahon, Visionary, Scott Hall, Chico, The Miz, Boring, Dusty, Pioneer, Poppy Ed, Genius, X-Pac, Druggy, Harper, Confused. Ronnie, Hands of stone, Garvin should have punched everyone into a coma. What I think of rats? I don't like rats. I'd say stay clear of rats. I've had my fair share of dealing with rats at Grand Central Terminal when I used to work there. I don't like them. Snitches get stitches. First ever lie I told? That's a good question. Because, you know, we all have white lies here and there. But I tried my best not to lie. What I call survival lies. Sometimes you gotta make a survival lie. Jay-Z, I met many wrestlers. My favorite wrestlers ever met was Triple H in China, though. Stone Cold, Ken Shamrock, Jimmy Snuka, Dusty Rhodes, Pat Patterson. We met a lot of wrestlers. Rory, I like all you guys. All you guys are cool.
To a hospital for months, Terry Allen refuses.
Really, Tina Adams?
We all love him and we hope he gets better so he can wrestle. If not wrestle, at least, you know, be a part of the NWA still.
In April of 1987, Crockett hatches a plan to bring Magnum T.A. back at one of their biggest events of the year.
Baltimore Arena, Terry Allen, aka Magnum T.A., is going to make his first appearance back in an arena.
And to see him again in person was just something it's hard to put into words.
For me, watching Terry Allen walk down that aisle, that shows me that you can overcome almost anything and never give up.
I mean, supposed to be lifted out of a bed and fed the rest of his life and bathed and all of that, to be able to walk under his own power was an absolute miracle in and of itself. I mean, I got choked up, like, for real, because it was a surreal moment.
I can remember the moment, the emotion, and the feel, and the fans, and just like it was yesterday, was one of the best I've ever experienced. They saw me come from, you know, death's door to never gonna walk again until, my gosh, he walked to the ring.
Despite his enduring popularity, it's clear that Magnum's wrestling days have come to a permanent end, leaving his future uncertain.
It makes you have to adjust your thinking. You try to find a way to fit back into the industry. I was an intelligent guy. I was still well-spoken. So I worked as a color commentator for a while.
I'll be working with you, Magnum. I really look forward to that, and all the fans in Chicago look forward to seeing you again.
It's going to be great, and I can't wait.
Magnum finding his niche in wrestling after his accidents was very hard, because being around it, you always want to be back in it.
The hard times continue for Magnum behind the scenes.
We settled into a normal life. I thought our marriage was doing well, but
we stayed together for about a month after I got out of the hospital.
there was some infidelity past the accident. I felt like I had given pretty much everything I had. I just couldn't do that anymore.
And it was so overwhelming for her, because the realities of all the things that had taken place on the road, you know, she becomes aware of, because I'm forthcoming. And I feel bad about it. This is a bad deal.
I loved him very much. It was hard for me to leave him, but I think at some point you're just like, once something is done again, you know, how many times can you let that happen?
As Terry's relationship ends, the once mighty Crockett Promotions implodes.
At this point, nobody on either side of the wrestling war, or any of the fans or the observers, realized exactly how crucial this was going to be a point in the wrestling business. All of a sudden, they had to start from scratch.
In 1988, Crockett makes a deal with media mogul Ted Turner, leading to the birth of World Championship Wrestling and the end of an era for wrestling fans.
If Terry Allen had never been in the accident, the future of the NWA, Jim Crockett Promotions, the sky's the limit.
All right, we're back on commercial break. Well, that's amazing, Tina Adams. Been around wrestling business 40 plus years. That's amazing. What was your favorite moment being in the wrestling business so long? All right, let's see what other questions you guys have. Have I ever eaten raw liver? No, I haven't, and nor do I have a desire to do that. Cooked liver, yes, but I'm not eating it raw. What's love got to do with it? What's up, Mark Ivy? What's up, bro? Long time no see. How's everything going with you and your family and Sheila? How's everything going? BC Gaming, I believe it was a green screen. Keto hot dogs are delicious, and on pepper buns, top notch, top notch. The worst food I ever tasted on keto. I have to say some keto desserts, pre-made keto desserts, some of them are really off-putting because of all the sugar alcohols in them. Some of them. Orito, live streaming, she knows that it's a passion of mine, and she allows me the luxury of doing that. Lizard Man, hello from Italy. What's going on? Eric Freeman, no, you don't have to ban anyone yet tonight. You grew up around many of them, but for me to do the interview for Magnum is history. That's awesome, Tina. Disco Inferno dance, definitely, Rory.
Totally would have been satisfied being recognized as the world's heavyweight champion, having my run, having my time in the sun, and passing it off to the next 20-year-old that thought he could do it better.
If he never had the accident, movies, commercials, lifestyle, the World Heavyweight Championship.
When they see Magnum T.A. come out there to defend the United States Heavyweight Championship, they know that I'm the man that they can stand behind because I'm always out there 100%.
You know, he was right at the brink of becoming the world champion. No doubt. For it to be gone in the blink of an eye, man, it should be a lesson for everybody. You know, that life can change that quick.
One time, I remember Dusty and I were in Columbia at the Township Auditorium. We're sitting on the back steps, and he said, can you imagine how successful we could be at something else if we worked as hard at it as we are at this? And he was right. I've used the same commitment with the new opportunity as I had done all those years and attacked it with the same ferocity that I had when I was chasing the world title.
He is an individual that will not give up. Here's a man that is classified as a quadriplegic. He's not going to let it slow him down.
Terry decides to leave the wrestling world behind and sets his sights on a new career far from the squared circle. Along the way, he also finds another chance at love.
My name is Courtney Blanchard Allen, and I am Terry Allen's wife. First met Terry Allen approximately in 1997. Both of us were going through divorces, and we became really, really good friends and leaned on each other a lot for support during that time. And through that friendship, developed an intimacy and a relationship He's my best friend.
For me, it's another miracle. I was given a chance to have a family, so I've done my best to be steady and make a secure home and a loving home for all the kids, make sure they're all provided and well taken care of and loved. And it's been an amazing ride.
It was the end of Magnum T.A, but it wasn't the end of Terry Allen. You can be sad for what could have been, what the wrestling fans could have seen that they would have enjoyed and what he could have accomplished, but you can't be sad overall because he came back from the wreck. He's lived a long life. He's been successful in other things, and he's had a family and fans that still care about him.
Is it tough for him day to day?
Oh, you know it's gotta be. Yeah. He'll never tell you that. He had just a small percentage chance of survival, and his ability to overcome absolutely anything has proven true every day since that accident. If he wasn't at peace with how it ended, it wouldn't be so inspirational. There are so many people out there that want to know more about his story, to be able to do the things that he can do now.
I lived the dream that most people only dream of and never get to see come to fruition. The other what if is, what if I had world to put on? And I'm so thankful that I did.
Humble to say the least. Well, Tina, wow, that's amazing. Thank you for your service in the wrestling business. Thank you so much for being a part of it all these years. Any questions you guys have? Or any comments? Poppy's did a lot of dances, Garrett. He's done a lot of dances. Carlito as a ripoff of Razor Ramon. I think he drew inspiration from Razor. I don't know if it was a ripoff per se. Veer and Omos. I think they're headed in the right direction. Rory, if that's their passion, I will support their passion. That's awesome, Tina. Your daughter wrestled? That's amazing. What are 5 characters I would create for the following people from the stream? Boots. So Boots would be a fun-loving, wheeling, dealing son of a gun. Maroney would be a Barney loving, jovial derelict. Aaron will be a comedic star. Dark Angel would be a sultry being, and Nyx will be a fiery flame. Richard Slater, what's up, bro? Dark Side of the Ring about Vince McMahon. There was something about Vince that they did a documentary about Vince on Vice. I didn't get to see it though, but they did something about Vince. BC Gaming will subscribe and hit the bell and drop your link in the chat. Type the word shout out so these guys can subscribe to you. I hope not, Elvis. Maroney? I hope not. Bash at the Beach episode, is that the season finale? Because I'm waiting for that one too. Hopefully they got commentary from Vince Russo and Hogan. Like new commentary. I could see that being the season finale. But it probably is going to be the season finale. It's something that a lot of people, I'm sure, would love to get more insight on. But I will say, some of these Dark Side of the Ring episodes, I didn't learn a single new thing from. But tonight I've learned quite a few things from Magnum T.A. I mean, it's really... No, BC Gaming, just type in the word shoutout. Doesn't matter if you're a mod or not. Type in the word shoutout, and the Nightbot will take your channel link and put it in the chat. Just type the word shoutout. Nightbot will do the rest. Abdullah the Butcher? I'm not a fan of his recent comments over the last few years in his appearances in these episodes. So whether it be Dark Side of the Ring or any other documentary, I find Abdullah to be a little bit fake. Well, King Page, that's up to Boots. You got to ask Boots on that. I'm not sure. There you go, guys. Subscribe to the BC Gaming Dispatcher. There's a link in the chat. Show some support. Yeah, Chris and Tammy, I didn't learn anything new really from that episode, but it was interesting to see all those past vignettes and everything else that they were showing. I don't recall a lot of that stuff, but it was good to go back down memory lane. Elvis would be a character that eats corn dogs. Broken what? Would you see videos on matches from wrestling and YouTube from here in Puerto Rico? I haven't indulged in too many videos of wrestling in Puerto Rico on YouTube. Yeah, he doesn't know how to break kayfabe. You're right, Richard. Absolutely, Richard. But one moment in particular, I thought Abdullah was being overly fake was when he was laughing at the antics of the man who was killed in Puerto Rico, Bruiser Brody. He was laughing at Bruiser Brody's entrance and his mannerisms at the end of that episode, and it was the fakest laugh I could ever see someone do. It was very fake. He was actually bawling laughing. He was laughing hysterically, but it was the fakest laugh I've ever seen. Would you want to have the El Gordito character? Rory says, any character you guys come up with. All I need is a shot, just one chance. Just one chance. All I need is one chance to prove my worth. Just one chance. Abdullah gave people a Hep C? I'm broken. Really? But, you know, in any case, I'm not... I'm a very good judge of character. So I could see through a lot of things. I've met a lot of people, and I could get a good sense of where someone's coming from in certain situations. So I know how to weed through all the BS, so to speak. So El Gordito, wow, it must be a pretty good burger. Abdullah the Butcher got fried in a cage in WCW. I don't recall that, King Patriot, but I haven't watched much of his material. Okay, guys, any other questions you guys have before I sign off? Any questions you guys have about anything? Anything at all? Before I sign off here. Dark Side of the Ring, Magnum T.A. Abdullah had Hep C and did not tell wrestlers when he bladed. That's horrible. That's horrible. Shows what kind of character, what his character is like as a person. Terrible. Very terrible. Sarah, no, good thing she's never hit me with a frying pan. She's punched me in the nose before, but she blamed it on a dream. However, that's the only thing. Three Stooges, I would be Mo, so I would be the one dishing out the strikes and the punishment, and Boots is Larry and Poppy is Curly. Marx Brothers versus Three Stooges. Who wins? Unbroken. That's a good question. You know, they were both very funny. I got to go with the Three Stooges though. I mean, they were out of their minds. You know, straight up out of their minds. Thoughts on Rory's accidental timeout? Like I said, I know accidents happen. However, I cannot be forgiving all the time, because I know it's happened before. But please do not refrain from timing people out, even if it's an accident. You gotta be able to take responsibility for things like actions like this, whether it's an accident or whatever transpires. You got to take responsibility for things like this, and that's not just Roy. Everybody got to take responsibility, whether it's an accident, whether you didn't mean to do it. It comes down to carelessness, where whether it was an accident, you dropped your phone. You gotta take things serious sometimes, and I can understand it happen once or twice, but if it happens a few times, it becomes a pattern. Just keep that in mind. 5 favorite cartoons of all time. I used to watch cartoons back in the day, but I haven't watched too many cartoons in the last probably decade or so. But I was a fan of South Park growing up. South Park was cool. And Bob and Margaret, I bet you guys don't know about that show. That's back in the day. Bob and Margaret. The Simpsons was cool back in the day. Ed, and Eddie. That was another one. And Johnny Bravo. Abbott and Costello unbroken. Yeah, they were legit too. Let's not forget Laurel and Hardy. All right, guys, so I want to thank you so much for joining me. I hope you all be safe, be well. Have a great night, guys. Been a pleasure to see you guys. Good night, guys. I'll catch you guys for the live stream on Friday night. Good night, everybody. MATTROISE signing out. Who killed Kenny? Those are my favorite moments.